What if I told you there is an object so dangerous that every empire that possessed it was eventually destroyed? Every ruler who wore it died violently or mysteriously young. For over 5,000 years, this single object has been systematically destroying civilizations. It started for me with a simple Google search about the British crown jewels. And there it was, this massive diamond sitting behind a bulletproof glass in the Tower of London. It was 105 carats and worth $400 million. And according to every source I could find, it has the most blood-soaked history of any object on Earth. I'm talking about thousands of years of documented history. Empire after empire, all of them eventually destroyed and all of them connected to this one stone. This isn't just a story about a diamond. This is the story of the greatest crime in human history. A crime so massive that it's been hiding in plain sight for centuries now. Trust me, you're not ready for this. This is the bloody story of Kohinoor. On 3rd of July 1850, HMS Maria limps into Portsmouth Harbour, looking like it's been through hell. The crew is half dead from cholera, storms nearly sank the ship twice, and the captain's log reads like it's a horror movie. But here's what is weird. Just one day before the diamond was presented to Queen Victoria, Prime Minister Robert Peel was thrown away from his horse and killed. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you're carrying what might be the world's most cursed object, coincidences feel a lot more suspicious. Because locked away in that ship's iron safe was Britain's newest prize, a diamond they had just stolen from a 10-year-old boy. Let me say that again. A diamond they had stolen from a 10-year-old boy, Maharaja Duleep Singh. The British surrounded him with soldiers, put a treaty in front of him and forced him to sign away his family's most precious treasure. And then they call it legal acquisition. But here's what the British didn't know. What they just brought to England was about to haunt their royal family for the next 170 years. Only if they knew this diamond, it had a pattern. The Kakatiyas held it for 200 years. The dynasty wiped out in 1323. The Delhi Sultanate grabbed it next, gone by 1526. Mughals kept it for centuries, destroyed by 1857. The Afghans fought wars over it and their empires collapsed by 1842. And hold on, it's not just about the empires. Every time this diamond changed hands, it was the ordinary people who paid the price. Farmers, craftsmen, families, people who had nothing to do with their rulers' greed, but everything to do with their war. Millions of them. That is when I knew I had to dig deeper, because this pattern, it's too consistent to be random and too precise to be a coincidence. Something else was going on here, something that would make me question everything I knew about power, wealth and justice. And what I found, it's going to change how you see the truth forever. Before we go any further, you need to understand who we are dealing with here. Not just any ruler or king. We're talking about one of the most significant figures in our history. A god who walked among the mortals. The 8th avatar of Vishnu, Krishna. Ancient Sanskrit texts talk about something called the Shyamantaka gem, a stone given by Surya, the sun god himself, to King Satrajita, who then ruled the coastal kingdom of Dwaraka. The diamond was beautiful beyond description and powerful beyond imagination, but there was a catch. Surya had given a clear warning that this stone would bring prosperity to whoever possessed it righteously. But anyone who took it with greed or violence, they'd be destroyed. Now, I'm not saying I completely believe in divine curses, but what happened next, it was like someone reading from a script written by fate itself. Prasena, the king's brother, takes the diamond along to go on a hunt. And in the forest, a lion tears him apart. It was indeed the first death. And you might ask, what wrong did he do? Fair question, right? I thought maybe this was just an exception, a tragic accident, wrong place, wrong time. But what happened after this incident will send chills down your spine. People start to suspect Krishna himself of the murder, and to clear his name, Krishna has to now hunt this diamond down. He tracks it to a cave where Jambavanta, the bear king, has been keeping it. After a furious fight, Krishna defeats the bear king and recovers the stone. He returns it to Satrajita, proving his innocence. Meanwhile, in Dwaraka, three men, Satadhanva along with Akrura and Kritivarma, decide they want to steal the diamond. While Krishna is away from the city, Satadhanva murders King Satrajita in cold blood and steals the stone. When Krishna got to know this, his response was brutal. He executes Satadhanva, and the two others would be accused of theft. So, why did I tell you this story? This incident you see had established a pattern that would repeat for the next 5,000 years. Violence to acquire the stone, more violence to keep it, even more violence to take it away. Generation after generation thought they'd be different, they could break the cycle. But every single time, they were all wrong. The Kakatiyas ruled the Deccan from their capital city at Warangal. For over 200 years, they controlled some of the richest diamond-bearing regions in the world, particularly along the Godavari River and its tributaries. But here's something most people don't know. Until the 1700s, India was the only place in the world where you could find diamonds. These diamonds were just sitting in riverbeds. Millions of years ago, volcanoes shot them up from deep inside the earth. The rivers carried them along until they settled in the sandy deposits. So miners would literally sift through sand and gravel on these riverbeds searching for diamonds. Although most diamonds were tiny, every once in a while someone would find a diamond as large as an egg. And one such stone may have been the Kohinoor. Any massive stone pulled from these sands would have passed through the Kakatiya hands. Then in 1323, the Delhi Sultanate army swept down from the north. The Kakatiya dynasty was wiped out, their capital was sacked and their treasuries were looted. And according to the legend, the great diamond Kohinoor went north to Delhi with these conquering armies. But here's where the story splits. If the diamond went to Delhi in 1323, it would have passed through the successive sultanates, the Tughlaqs, the Sayyids, the Lodhis. It would have sat in their treasuries for over 200 years until Babur conquered Delhi in 1526. This is the path that most historians believe. But there's another possibility. What if the diamond never made it to Delhi? What if in the chaos of war it was hidden and smuggled back to the diamond fields? And what if it ended up in the hands of the new rising power, the Vijayanagara Empire? Just 13 years after Kakatiyas fell, a new Hindu empire rose from the ashes, the Vijayanagara. It would become the greatest southern power India had ever seen. And here's what is fascinating. They controlled the exact diamond-producing regions, the same riverbeds, the same alluvial deposits along the Godavari and Krishna river systems that had once made the Kakatiyas wealthy. Gracia da Horta, a Portuguese physician, walks through the markets of Vijayanagara. And what he sees blows his mind. Stalls overflowing with diamonds of every cut and color, worn openly on bodies of men and women. Da Horta described that he had seen many diamonds that were the size of hazelnuts. And there was one particular diamond that was as large as an egg, and there are plenty of evidences that Kohinoor was the same size too. The question is, was he looking at the Kohinoor itself? Then in 1565, the Deccan Sultanates crushed Vijayanagara. If the diamond had been found, they would have seized it. Now, whether the diamond traveled straight to Delhi or it took a detour through Vijayanagara first, one thing is certain. By the early 1600s, India's greatest diamond was in Mughal hands. After Vijayanagara fell in 1565, the Deccan Sultanates tore through the burning city of Vijayanagara like vultures, each claiming their share of the legendary treasure. The diamond vanished into the chaos of war. Was it taken to Golconda, the famous diamond trading center? Or did it sit in the treasury of Bijapur Sultans? The records from this period are frustratingly incomplete. What we do know is by the early 1600s, the diamond had somehow made its way north, because when it reappears in the documented history, it's in the hands of the Mughals. Some people say the diamond was given as a gift by the Deccan rulers to keep peace with the Mughals. Others believe it was taken during Akbar's battle in the south. The truth is, we may never know for sure. But by the time Shah Jahan became king in 1620, there was no more mystery. The Kohinoor now clearly belonged to the Mughals. Shah Jahan had set the diamond into the most expensive throne in history, the Peacock Throne. And for 200 years the diamond sat there. But what they didn't know was, the diamond didn't belong to them either. Emperor Muhammad Shah is relaxing in his pleasure gardens. He's listening to music, watching dancers, living the life of absolute luxury. 2 million people are about going their normal lives in the city of Delhi. But none of them knew this. Death was marching towards them. Nadir Shah shows up at the gates of Delhi with 150,000 Persian soldiers. He's not interested in conquering India, he just wants its treasures. And at the top of his shopping list was one specific diamond. The Mughal army had hundreds of thousands of men. It should have been a slaughter of the Persians. Instead, it was a massacre of the Mughals. It seemed like years of luxury had made them soft. When Nadir finally found the diamond which was hidden in defeated King's turban, he held it up to light and whispered the words, Kohinoor, the mountain of light. But the diamond, you see, wasn't finished with Delhi yet. Before the Persians left, they murdered 30,000 innocent civilians. The richest city on earth was turned into a graveyard in just 3 days. As I read about the massacre, all I could think about was those 30,000 people. They weren't emperors or generals. They were shopkeepers, artisans, children, people whose only crime was living in a city ruled by someone who had possessed a stolen diamond. That is when I understood what this stone really represents. The price that ordinary people pay when their leaders choose power over justice. But if you think the story of Delhi was bad, what happened next in Afghanistan will make your blood run cold. Nadir Shah takes the diamond back to Persia, but 8 years later, his own bodyguard stabbed him to death in his tent. In the chaos that follows, Ahmad Khan Abdali, Shah's most trusted Afghan general, protects the royal families from looters and renegades. As a reward for his loyalty, Nadir Shah's widow gifts him the famous Timur ruby and the Kohinoor. Ahmad Khan takes both the treasures and flee to Afghanistan. He crowns himself Ahmad Shah Durrani and founds a new dynasty. What happens next is the most brutal family massacre in history. And I spent weeks going through these archives trying to understand how one family could destroy itself so completely. For 50 years, the Afghan royal family literally tears itself apart, fighting over one stone. Brothers blind brothers with red-hot iron. sons poison father, and the violence is endless. These weren't monsters, they were people who had been consumed by an idea that possessing one diamond would make them the greatest king. Every single time one brother seized the stone, the others would immediately start plotting against him. Ahmad Shah dies slowly from a mysterious illness that affects his face. And by the end, he leaves his 24 sons to go on war with each other. When Zaman Shah sees his power in the diamond, his brother Muhammad blinds him with red-hot needles. Muhammad rules until another brother, Shah Shuja, drives him out in a bloody coup. This pattern repeats endlessly. Brothers murder brothers, uncles poison nephew, all for one stone. Shah Shuja is so desperate to reclaim the throne that he makes a deal with Maharaja Ranjit Singh of Punjab, the Kohinoor, in exchange for military support. When Shah Shuja finally returns to Afghanistan after his exile, he is shot dead in the streets of Kabul. He had traded away Kohinoor for the support he thought would save him. The Afghan royal family had learned the hardest lessons of all. You can't build lasting power on something that was never rightfully yours to begin with. But you see, all this while, someone else had been watching too. For decades, the British East India Company had been watching Punjab carefully. Ranjit Singh's powerful army had stopped their northern expansion, but his death in 1839 changed everything. Punjab literally tore itself apart and 3 Maharajas were dead in 4 years. A 5-year-old was now on the throne, and the company saw their chance to not just seize the territory, but also to steal the Kohinoor. When the British conquered Punjab in 1849, they had a problem. How do you justify stealing the most famous diamond in India? The solution was both brilliant and absolutely disgusting. They put a treaty in front of a 10-year-old Maharaja Duleep Singh, the Treaty of Lahore. Hidden in the print was a clause requiring the boy to surrender the Kohinoor to Queen of England. Picture this, a 10-year-old surrounded by foreign soldiers, his kingdom conquered, his advisors gone, and he's forced to sign away his inheritance. And the British calls this legal acquisition. HMS Maria after that leaves Bombay in April 1850 with the famous Kohinoor. Another empire had now acquired the diamond, and they were about to learn how wrong they were. Just one day before Diamond's arrival, Prime Minister Peel was thrown away from his horse and killed. Within a decade, Prince Albert died at 42. Queen Victoria survived multiple assassination attempts, and the pattern was repeating. Over the next 170 years, a superstition took hold. The diamond could only be worn safely by women, but even with that, Queen Alexandra buried her son at 28. Queen Mary lost a favorite child in a plane crash. Since then, the diamond was seen too dangerous for anyone to wear it, and it's being locked away in a bulletproof glass. Today, 4 countries demand the diamond back. India, Pakistan, Iran, Afghanistan, all of them have legitimate claims, but every request is denied. But after tracking this diamond through 5,000 years of history, after documenting 30,000 deaths in Delhi alone, watching empire after empire collapse, one thing becomes clear. The diamond isn't supernatural, it's moral. When you build your wealth on theft, you create enemies. When you establish that might make right, you invite others to use the force against you. When you refuse to acknowledge harm, that harm echoes through generations. The countries demanding its return aren't just asking for a stone. They're asking for acknowledgement, recognition, justice for the wrongs that continue to shape our world. The British refusal isn't about protecting a museum piece. It's about protecting a myth that their empire was somehow different. And after 5,000 years, it's still asking the same question. Are we brave enough to look?